Hi there. Welcome to a discussion here. I wanted to make a special announcement before I go ahead and introduce our guests here. I wanted to announce that the BioDevils Podcast will be returning. This will actually, I think, be season 3 technically, but that means we are going to make some changes here and make things a little bit more consistent because prior to what it was before, we were just covering like news stuff and whatnot. And it was very random and nobody really cared to talk about it. So we're going to make it a little bit more consistent with this comeback. But today I'm also joined by some very special guests from the Kaotikast, and I'm going to introduce the first one. Captain Chaos, go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's going on, everybody?
Hey. And then we got Levy, or I'm sorry, no, he's not Levy anymore. He's Eviga, the Amish man.
I am Eviga because you ruined my brand.
I'm sorry you didn't know how to pronounce EVGA.
I'm sorry I had 2 hours of sleep, motherfucker.
But look, you got to rebrand your brand, so
yeah.
So you got a new brand.
My brand.
You know, having a new brand. Having a new brand.
That was easy.
Exactly.
Anyway,
I'm gonna move on with our guests here. As always, DevilHunterJames.
The God, hello. I mean,
hi. Hi. Yes.
Hi.
After that, we got Drillbit.
Hello, everyone.
And then we got Eli.
You motherfucker! I thought this was the Game Pass podcast.
No. I mean, we can talk about Game Pass if you want, but
I mean, it is related to it, so yeah.
Yeah, and then last but not least, we have Dirty Dan, Unsanitized Daniel. Welcome aboard.
Unsanitized Daniel.
Fuck off.
Done.
What's going on, everybody?
All right, and so today, you guys know we're going to be talking about the PlayStation Plus changes. Just out of curiosity, because I want to hear from you all, like, what did you all think of the new changes, especially like if you're currently into like console gaming, or maybe if you're not into console gaming but you're kind of looking from an outsider's perspective?
Man, I ain't paying $120 a year. Yeah, it's too much. It's too much goddamn money.
Yeah, I
cloud
can.
streaming is the future.
I can't get on board with that.
Didn't Microsoft get ratioed for like trying to up their price as well?
You know what? I don't remember if they were trying to or not. If I could believe it.
Try, at least.
It was for Xbox Gold, I think, and then they backpedaled.
Yeah.
I can kind of speak as an outsider looking in here, where like I only got wind of this like secondhand. I honestly, I haven't really been into console gaming in a while, so I really haven't honestly been keeping up with whatever's been going on with PS Plus. But yeah, like when I was a member of PS Plus, I remember, back in the old days where you would just sign up for PS Plus and you would get your free games, or you get a selection of a certain amount of games for like every month or so. You get like some free games you can download and you can keep. I don't know if they have it. They usually can keep those games anymore, but I remember when you could. And you get your online service and all that. So
you know what it was before back on PS3? It was they used to have it where they would have like a bunch of different AAA titles, so it was like actually worth the admission price for like the year because you were always getting one of the big
remember
AAA
like their
eventually.
lineup of games did get kind of progressively worse over time.
Once we started getting into PS4 and stuff like that, I know you were saying you were wondering if like, if they even allowed you to keep your games. And to answer that question, you actually are not allowed to keep your games. You would have to pay the full price after the subscription runs out, or you would have to buy a physical copy of the game or renew your PlayStation Plus. So, and in the case of, I don't know if they've changed this in, recent years, but I remember back on PS3, there was a time where if you bought a PlayStation Plus game, not a PlayStation Plus game, but if it was a game that was on sale and there was an exclusive PlayStation Plus sale going on, you might have to pay the remainder amount of that sale amount or the full amount of the game, whatever comes first. I don't know if they currently do that now or not, but I do remember that was a policy at one point.
Yeah, I just remember you could have it, you would have it in your library and it would be on your account pretty much permanently if you add it on PS Plus. But yeah, so like I was saying though, I could kind of just speak as an outsider looking in here because I really haven't been involved with PS Plus or PlayStation for a while. Yeah, but I mean, it's once I heard about this, I was kind of thinking like the first thing that came to my mind was I think they're getting increasingly greedy because they think that they can get away with this. And to be honest, I think they probably will, unfortunately, just as a little bit of a black pill. I think they might, because I've seen other companies do this and unfortunately end up getting away with it, where they'll just, they'll do something completely ridiculous and, customers will give them backlash at first and then maybe they'll address it.
They just put up with it.
Yeah, they'll just
I've seen it's actually gotten a lot of negative reception so far, surprisingly.
Yeah, I think they will respond to it in some way, but I am not sure if I can't see them going back on it entirely, unfortunately.
I think there was an interview and they said nothing is set in stone, per se.
Yeah, I
want to point out.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So last year, back in January 2021, Microsoft was about to increase Xbox Live's price, so you'd have to pay $120 a year.
Yeah, that literally double.
Oh yeah, yeah. So thankfully they reversed that, but now you have Sony doing this, and they're getting praised for it.
Yeah, so apparently
it's really weird.
We were talking about Game Pass earlier as well, and people think this is their attempt at because I think before this was revealed, it was referred to as Project Spartacus, and people were wondering like what the hell that was, and now I guess they're revealing this is what Project Spartacus was, and I think people think that this is like supposedly their attempt to try to compete, but if it is, like
it's a bad attempt.
Not a good
like
one, yeah.
The thing that really puzzles me is why people are praising Sony or trying to defend this decision, and we'll kind of get into it a little bit more here too later. But like just talking about the features on like premium, like you can't play like PlayStation 3 games via download or physical disc. You'd think you'd be able to do that regardless of having PlayStation Plus or not, given the fact that it's a Blu-ray disc and they, should in theory be able to have the software to run that. And then even the PS2, PlayStation 1, PSP I can understand because that's a UMD, but for the digital downloads for PSP stuff, you would think that wouldn't be locked behind a paywall, and people are thinking no, this is fine, $120 a year, there's nothing wrong with this, you should expect this price. And it's what? Backwards compatibility in particular, right, is what was always a free feature. So it's just some weird pricing with that, and keep in mind before too, this was before they decided to increase the 3-month subscription for PlayStation Plus as well as the 1 year, I think. Because remember, it used to be $15, and then they were no, it's going to be $24.
Oh yeah, they did do that. Man,
it is pretty crazy to think about how expensive it's gotten, and it really feels like they're giving you less for more with what they're doing, especially considering shameless plug, like I pointed out in my video, that there are the amount of alternatives in terms of emulation is pretty staggering, and just to point out, there are obviously you can emulate things on your PC. You can actually get emulator consoles where you can emulate old games and emulate a variety of different games.
There's and I don't mean to cut you off here again. It's just that there's also mods, modded consoles for the PlayStation 2 to play PSP games.
Yeah.
So you could play it right off the console, or you could. I think I mentioned this in your. I think I mentioned it to you, and I think I mentioned it in your video talking about this, where I was saying you could also look into the niche side of video upscaling, right? And that's also another market you could really delve into, which personally I like that just because I like playing on real hardware. But for most people, that's not going to be necessarily an option per se. So they're going to look at emulation or hopefully, if backwards compatibility is available, that's what they would look to, because it's just way easier to do that as opposed to, paying like $300 for a video upscaler just to, make your games look pretty, right? So in that regard, it's one of those things where there's so many different options. Like you would think that Sony would take that into consideration instead of just being like, oh, well, we could just lock this behind a paywall, but this is Sony under Jim Ryan, and Jim Ryan does not make great decisions. This is the same guy that was asking, well, why do people like, Gran Turismo, old Gran Turismo, but these graphics look bad? Or like, or the other shit was, what the fuck was he saying? Like, he was trying to say that he never said that, and like, he likes old Gran Turismo. It's like, no, you don't.
Right, he just said that he didn't understand why people liked it.
Right, and
yeah,
mind you too, when we started out this current generation too, like they announced that they wanted to have like certain games be $79.99 a month, or not a month. Excuse me, $69.99 per game, maybe even more, depending on the publisher and developer. Seemingly, Sony is the only company that is actually taking advantage of that, because most other companies realize, hey, we're in the middle of a fucking pandemic, and people don't really necessarily want to spend more when like things like gas prices are going up. And
I honestly feel like that
right now,
the inflation.
Right now, Square Enix is trying to get on that bandwagon.
Oh yeah.
Well, Square Enix,
I feel
2K,
like any corporation,
Activision,
like Sony or Square, like it's just, if anything, like the price hike speaks to their greed. I think it reinforces what I was saying as well about this whole like $120 a year for emulated games or whatever, and not to mention now they also want you to pay $70 for a new game, and Sony is one of the few companies actually doing that. I think it is just, in my opinion, it just seems like it's just greed, them charging you this much money for a new game. I mean, especially considering like with the, a new game, like you have alternatives in terms of you don't have to buy it at that price in the first place. If you just wait a bit, I'm pretty sure the price will go down, or you could buy it from a reseller or whatever. So like there's alternatives even there too. So I mean, that's the funny thing. So I don't know what they're thinking they can get away with like really just kind of upcharging people like that much money for games and for emulated games and all that. It's just honestly they're just greedy, and they must think people are stupid, and they'll just like pay that money. Unfortunately, some people are, but I think the vast majority of people are calling their bullshit. They're calling them on their shit, honestly.
I know, Drill, you were trying to say something earlier.
Yeah, I was going to say it's extremely underwhelming, especially considering how much Microsoft has made like a lot of efforts on backwards compatibility, because I think the thing that makes it so much better is options. Like some of the backwards compatibility stuff is either on Game Pass, you can buy it digitally, or hell, if you own the disc, you can just pop it in. That's what they need, options.
I was in regards to that. I was curious actually. Like, what do you guys think about? Because we mentioned this before. The PS5 does have a Blu-ray player, and we know that they have emulation technology to emulate PS3 games. Do you think that they're like? Because I brought this up in my video. This might be like a somewhat of a conspiracy theory, I guess, but I think the reason why they took out being able to like, well, I think it was PS2 games, but also PS3 games, like, being able to, you can't like put in a PS3 disc or anything like that. Like, I think that the reason they're not letting you do that is because they want to resell those games. They want to have it so you can have to buy those games and like download them. And
of course,
instead of being able to simply put a physical disc into your console and like emulate it.
I mean, look at the Uncharted re-release.
Yeah.
For
several times.
Yeah. I think it's also
Lost Legacy. It's $50.
I mean, let's look at Nintendo's way backwards compatibility.
But yeah, the thing is that at least on that front, it's more of the fact that the hardwares are so different from each other. And especially practically, you probably can't put in a Wii U disc in the Switch.
With the PS3, the PS3 does have some weird hardware, but we know
Dell architecture.
The cell
yeah, we know that it can be emulated though, and I don't know how it couldn't be possible for you to simply put in a disc and they could have, I don't know, maybe download the emulated version of that game or whatever they would have.
Oh, so you mean like what Xbox does?
In a way, yeah.
Pretty much.
Because we know Xbox can,
probably
basically the same way Xbox would have done it. I don't see why Sony couldn't have done it the same way, and I really feel like the reason for that is because, like I said, they want to just resell that game to you, so they can make money off of it. Which, honestly, is kind of a typical business practice, although it is kind of scummy in my opinion to do that.
They absolutely want to nickel and dime you.
Yeah, to follow up on that, Microsoft's apparently been working on Xbox emulation for a long time. Back on the 360 where it could play a few Xbox games.
Yeah.
I think that was like software emulation. And the compatibility wasn't great, but they did build upon it for Xbox One. So they had
good OG games.
So they never stopped working on it. And it even allowed them to enhance them once we got the Series X.
Yeah, and that was because that was the thing that I was saying too with like the backwards compatibility, and I kind of want to touch on like how PlayStation has handled that too. Like the way with how Microsoft did it, in my opinion, while it is awesome to see like these games get properly upscaled to like 1080p 4K, right? Get 60 FPS boosts, stuff like that. And that's fantastic. The problem is that they have to, obviously get the rights to, essentially agreed that, the rights holder for that game allows them to like sell that game digitally on the like Xbox storefront. And also for them to even go in and add in those new like additions, if those companies are even around.
Yeah.
That's also another issue.
Yeah, honestly, I'm surprised DOA 3 and 4 made it in, considering it has like Aerosmith songs. So I thought that was like
right, and then there's just like licensing issues with like music, right? So like,
they just don't want to miss a thing.
So kind of to like touch on like PlayStation specifically, like with PlayStation. Well, I want to start with PlayStation 2, and then I'm going to talk about PlayStation 3. Because, when PlayStation 2 came out, like that was the big thing. Like you didn't have to sell all of your PlayStation 1 games. The PlayStation 2 has got you. As long as you got your PlayStation 1 memory card, you just slap in that disc, and it works, right? Mm-hmm. I think the only caveat is that you might not be able to play those games using Component, but I'm not sure about that because I've actually not tested that out myself. But it was free, right? It was free on every PlayStation 2 model that you could play PlayStation 1 games on the PlayStation 2. And that was like one of the big selling points, aside from the fact that it was also a fucking DVD player and whatnot, right? But then, we go into the PlayStation 3 and the initial PlayStation 3s, with how much they were costing, part of the problem came in from the fact that there were some machines that were not backwards compatible with PlayStation 2. There were some machines that were, and those get divided up into like two different subcategories where like some of those have partial hardware on there, so they're partially emulating the hardware, and the other ones actually have the like CPU or GPU from the PS2 implanted onto the PS3's motherboard, where they're able to like just fully emulate the PS2 hardware, like as if it were on real hardware, essentially, right? And after a while, because it became a cost issue of being able to produce PlayStation 3s with those, and making sure that people would be willing enough to buy a PlayStation 3, because keep in mind, like the PlayStation 3 was going for like almost like $700 at the time. So like they made that decision to cut physical backwards compatibility with the PS2. You would still have digital backwards compatibility and physical backwards compatibility for PlayStation 1. However, the biggest issue was that they did not bring in a significant portion of the like library of PS2 games for like the digital market over to the PlayStation Store. that people would have wanted. And that's when we started to see things like HD remaster start resurfacing up, because people wanted to play those games and they weren't available on like the PlayStation Store, so they wanted to play it another way, right?
Yeah, and of course, like, not every game got that treatment that people might have wanted to see, because as we know, PS2 had
Silent Hill.
Oh yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah, like
I love how
PS2 had a massive library of games, and that, I mean, like, we could never really see all of them get re-released for HD collection or an HD version of it or whatever. So
right.
I love how I just broke the podcast sin. I had my mic muted the whole time, and I was trying to talk.
GG.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh my god.
All right, what were you trying to say, Levy?
I don't know. I forgot.
GG.
Okay.
Oh, man.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I
Okay.
was gonna say.
Let's backwards compatibility. I love how it's like Nintendo had their thing. They had the virtual console, and everyone complained about that. They're like, you could just emulate these games for free. And now that the Switch has the Nintendo or NES and Super Nintendo online, now they're bitching about Nintendo not having the virtual console.
I think like a problem that came with it is that companies realized they could just resell them in collections. Like, why put Mega Man on the store when they can just resell them in collections?
Yeah.
True. And to be fair, those compilations, like,
They did come with a lot though. Like
I
mean, like the X collection and all that.
yeah, well, we had the classic series X collection.
ZX.
ZX recently got that remaster. It'd be really cool if they did like remakes for like the Legends series, but
Same thing.
because I definitely know people love Legends and want their Legends 3 for how Capcom gutted them for that. But like the way that those like compilations are handled, or like even like recently, even though Konami's kind of a shit company with like their Castlevania collections, like it's way more convenient to just get it digitally, or in the case of like if they're doing a limited run print, or if it's in the case where they are doing a physical release and it's not tied to limited run, you have that physical disc and it has all those discs that otherwise would have been on those old Nintendo cartridges.
Yeah. And I like that. It's like, even though Konami did a lot of stupid shit in the past, they got somebody that knew what they were doing, and they make great collections. You got Castlevania, you got what was it, Contra. Now you have TMNT that's coming out soon. We don't know when, but it's done right.
Hopefully,
I think they also re-released the Simpsons game, or the Simpsons arcade game.
That's the one thing I wanted to bring back. It's the
They
Simpsons
did
game.
actually re-release it, but on Arcade One Up.
No, I'm talking about now. I know they did it in the past for like Xbox Live Arcade and PS3, but I want them to bring that game back.
They did actually bring it back very recently, but it's only on Arcade One Up, and they're not exactly cheap.
Well, bring it back to the fucking gen. What gen are we at right now? 7, 8, whatever. Bring it back to the current.
I don't really fucking know. Let's go back to like the generation where everything was like, you bought it, you got the game, there was no DLC, it just fucking worked, and you had a blast.
Yeah, back
like
to the Super Nintendo
or something.
Yeah, the only thing I will take from modern gen is that the control schemes are way more consistent compared to like some of the old games, because you get like inverted camera angles and you were just stuck with it.
Well, the thing with modern games, and I mean this is on both PC and consoles, but I feel like with most modern games, we're basically all just play testers for most devs' games when they put them out. Like, the game will come out broken and they'll be like, oh, well, maybe we'll address it in a patch eventually.
Looking at you, Battlefield 2042.
Yeah.
But kind of to get us back here on topic too, with like the PlayStation Plus, obviously, right? Like, and when we think about like backwards compatibility too, it's like when you look at this, right? And we were talking about PlayStation 3, going into like PlayStation 4, we didn't have any of it. You could stream PlayStation 3 games through PlayStation Now, but you would think that those would be at least backwards compatible, but they weren't. And PS2 games were kind of weird too, because people found like workarounds where you could like hack the console and basically throw in your own disc and play whatever PS2 game you'd want, and it would upscale it properly and stuff like that
On the PS4?
So it's just Yeah, on the PS4, there's like a way to like crack the PS4 where you can like literally just slap in your PS2 disc and it'll read it. I don't know if it.
Okay, so does that mean that the emulation technology is there to actually emulate those games? They're just kind of like locking you out of it.
They're just being lazy about it.
Okay, yeah.
They're being lazy. Well, they're being lazy about it, and they're being greedy about it because,
yeah, exactly.
Sure, like okay, let's take a look at like the what is it, PlayStation Plus Premium, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, James, you want to go ahead and read off the bullet points off of the PlayStation Plus Premium before we get into that stuff?
Which one specifically?
For Premium, it's the last tier. Like all of those bullet points and what that actually includes for the yearly price of $119.99.
Time limited game trials, so demos are a limited thing. PS2, PSP, PS4 games.
Cloud streaming for all those.
Yeah, like they implemented their PS Now service in there.
Well, and so what it goes to, it's provides all benefits from the essential and extra tiers, which I guess we should probably go through those tiers in a bit too. Adds up to 300, supposedly 340 additional games. They don't tell you what games they are. They don't give you a list or anything. They just tell you it's 340 games, and we don't know. We don't know if is that 340 games. How is that divided between all those generations of games? Like, is it only like say 40 PlayStation 1 games, 40 PS2 games, and then maybe like 200 PSP? Well, not PSP games, but PS3 games. Like we don't know. A catalog of beloved classic games available in both streaming and download options from the original PlayStation, PlayStation 2, and PSP generations. And then PS3 games available via cloud streaming. Like those are the things that are there, right? And it's a really weird fucking situation with that.
It's all just weird nowadays, like what they're doing. And they're saying that like cloud streaming is the future. It's not the future.
It's really not, because we've seen
Well,
videos on Twitter of people doing cloud gaming, and there's
there
so many
have been
latency
multiple different
issues.
companies that have tried to do cloud streaming of games, and it never worked. Like, it's not.
Sony tried it.
The problem's the internet infrastructure is just not there yet.
It might work if everybody in the country had like a fiber wire internet connection or something, but that's not the case. So
Fiber,
I have AT&T. I can't do cloud streaming.
yeah.
fiber.
As we're doing this podcast, my ping sometimes goes up to like 900 ms.
Yeah.
God damn.
Well, it's like I said in the video.
But yeah,
everybody
I feel
has
your
different.
pain, my guy.
Everybody has different internet service, and we're like, if we're trying to stream games, it's going to factor into that. And that's going to be a problem if you're trying to play a game. If you just get lag randomly, like
this was
Yeah.
a problem even on PlayStation 4 when they first introduced PlayStation Now with the PS3 games, because I tried playing Way of the Samurai 3 on PlayStation 4. I hated it so fucking much because I could not get past certain areas because of how bad the lag was and how much how much the picture was basically getting interrupted and whatnot. And mind you, like I was running on like one of the higher tiers of Comcast, and this was before I had moved. I hated it so much that I ended up buying the game physically and just played it off of PS3, and then eventually bought it on Steam. But where I could play it at a more with a more stable environment, no input lag, because that's the biggest issue aside from like any picture interruptions, right? Is input lag. There's significant fucking input lag on streaming games. So why PS3 is limited to just cloud streaming is it's fucking
Baffling.
Ridiculous to me, at least. So,
imagine
like,
trying to
what's the
stream a
point?
Souls game.
Here's the
Oh,
thing with
no.
PS Now. I beta tested PS Now, like right before it even released. I tried playing Uncharted 1. Imagine all the fucking input lag. The delays and shit.
The delays, the buffering, the frame
And
rate
Uncharted
dropping.
1. Like on PS3.
Like, yeah,
So-
I can imagine that. It's like playing Shadow of Mordor on PS3.
Oh god.
Ugh, I don't want to think about that.
Yeah, we don't talk about that because
No.
I got that as a birthday present and I returned it immediately.
Well, I had the PS4 version, so I kind of looked
I ended up getting that too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, PlayStation Now was something, wasn't it? And you know, granted, we kind of heard the rumors beforehand too that PlayStation Plus was going to get merged into PlayStation Now because they wanted to compete with Xbox Game Pass, but like Xbox Game Pass is dirt cheap.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I mean, especially if you're going up on price, like, I mean, how is that competing if you're actually like it's more expensive? And you know, when you think about it, we are really getting we are. It's not as good of a deal, honestly, because you know, Game Pass, like you said, it's cheap. You don't need to. You're not paying like $120 a year for that. So
yeah, well, and not only that, but like compare that to PlayStation Plus, where you get at the moment 3 monthly games. Because remember when it was still being supported on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, we were getting I think we were getting like a total of 4 monthly games.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think at one point we were also getting still getting support for like the Vita as well for the monthly games as well. But,
yeah, and then it got completely axed for those two.
Yeah, and it was just like one of those things where it was like when you look back at PlayStation Plus and the value of it back on the PS3, like there was so much value in it because you were getting like these bigger titles that people were talking about, and you were getting like access to these really cool deals for games that you might have been interested in playing in. Now, or at least since the PlayStation 4, the quality of like the games that we're getting has been steadily declining. There's been games like I think there was like one time where they like had a fucking train simulator. And it's like
I think it was Farming
no,
Simulator.
They might have had that too. They might have had that too. But like, you know, no offense to people that like that stuff, but it's like I'm paying $60 a year for this fucking thing.
And
so
yet
like,
you give a shit.
You know what I mean? Like the only reason I'm paying for it is for the online. If it wasn't for the fact that the online was tied to PlayStation Plus, then I wouldn't be buying it.
Yeah. Like that's the one thing I just don't like about PlayStation Plus, and I agree. There's a lot of times where it's like they have some decent selections when it comes to some games, but then most of the time it's just like, oh, indie games. Oh, another shitty shooter, or oh, this game was not that good when it came out. Why is it free? But now, what is it for that? Like this month, now we get SpongeBob, we get Hood, and we get Slay the Spire.
SpongeBob's a good game. I'll give them that.
Yeah,
But
all
Slay
those.
Slay the Spire you can get on your fucking phone.
Well, I actually have played Slay the Spire on PS4. It's actually not that bad of a game.
Yeah, but it's another indie game for like.
But yeah,
that's time.
Yeah, that's where it comes to the problem where it's like most of the Sony ponies are just like, why can't they put an exclusive on the fucking PS Plus? It's like it's never gonna happen. Never gonna happen.
Yeah.
Never gonna happen.
Unless it's like very old at that point. Like people saying, "Oh, why don't they just put Demon Souls?" Yeah, like that's never happening.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's like all this shit.
Okay, so I might have been talking out of my ass earlier because I just found out. So Game Pass is $15 a month. So
yeah,
I won't argue you're probably getting more value out of it though. So
I'll give you this.
I think
it's the same amount as you would for the PlayStation Plus Extra.
Well, the thing is, 15 is if you want Game Pass Ultimate.
Okay.
I think Game Pass for PC is 10, and regular Game Pass is the same as well. But there are ways of getting it cheap if you're like a new member.
Yeah, there are many fucking ways.
Yeah, and I think another thing that kind of hurts is that in terms of PC options, there's nothing for Plus unless you want to stream. But at that point, why not just fire up like PCSX2 or PCS3?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing with Game Pass is it's beneficial for PC players as well. Like you get PC download, you can actually get it on PC. So, but
you can download it right to your hard drive.
But with the PlayStation Plus, it's like there's not really anything in it for us. Like you said, like PC gamers, like we have emulation software. Like we can just go to that if we want to.
So here's the thing with PlayStation Plus Extra. The benefits is it provides all the benefits from the Essential tier and adds a catalog of up to 400 with a big fucking asterisk right next to it of the most enjoyable PS4 and PS5 games, including blockbuster hits from our PlayStation Studios catalog and third-party partners. Games in the Extra tier are downloadable for play. So that's how I've been getting the PS3 games that you get in the premium tier.
Yeah, I was looking at some of those tiers. It just seems like, the Essential is the most basic shit, really.
It is.
It just seems like
too much for its own good.
Yeah.
I love how the way that they. No, go on, Dan.
$100 fucking for the Extra tier for a year. What the fuck? And they don't even tell you what. No, for Extra. For PlayStation Plus Extra, it's $100 a year for 400 asterisk games, and they don't even tell you what they are.
Yeah, because it's like
I wish they had what they should have done was they should have had an actual I don't know, just show you like maybe a link to a list of the games or something.
Yeah, just like a short list for right now at least.
Like, would that also include the PS Plus Essentials that you also get when you get your PS5?
Yeah, the thing is, we don't know what we're getting.
So.
You know, we have no idea. So, I mean, it's like
I think what they should have done too, like you were mentioning, like have the link to show you like some of the title, like because they wouldn't even have to say like, oh, the number. They could have said like, we're gonna have a select amount of titles here with more to come over time. That's what they could have said, right? And then they could have left a link and they could have showed you like, this is what we're planning to have on this new service, right? And they could have showed you the list of those games and and they could have divided it up based on tier, right?
Yeah, instead of having like the 400 asterisk number, they could have just said like, here's a list, click here to see it, or something like that.
Hold up. Did Jim Ryan himself write this? Because that would be fucking hilarious.
Oh, wait. Did he actually? Oh my god, I think he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As the official PlayStation blog.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
He did.
Do you want me to read
so
this?
Out of touch.
Do you want me to read this shit?
If you want to, go for it.
Since launching PlayStation Plus in 2010, SIE has been at the forefront of innovation with game subscription services. We were thrilled to be the first console membership service that included a refreshed library of games through PlayStation Plus, and also launched the first console game streaming service with PlayStation Now. Okay. One, you're full of shit. Because what refreshed library? There's not much variety.
There's really not.
Xbox is still updating their library right now.
Yeah, I'll give Xbox this though.
At least talking.
I'll go on.
I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. It's just that like if we're talking like PlayStation 3, then that would have been accurate because we were getting like I said, we were getting like some pretty good titles. I think there was one month where they were giving us Metal Gear Solid HD collection. I think that was, or if it wasn't that, it was like I think the HD version for like not Peace Walker, but for MGS 2 and 3 on like Vita and stuff like that. So it's like like we would get like some really like I guess games that people would be interested in playing as opposed to like just shovelware that nobody's really wanting to pay the amount that they're asking for here. But I'm sorry, I didn't
they did Vita games.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I know Levy wanted to go, so I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, it's like that's the one thing I like about Game Pass is that they give you this variety of games. Example: Weird West came out on the 31st. PlayStation, you have to pay for it. Xbox, here's Game Pass. You want to try out the game? Here you go. Try the game out. At least with Game Pass, that one feels more refreshed than anything else.
Well, that's the other thing too, is like you actually get to play some of the like brand new titles that have come out. I've noticed, like, at least with the PlayStation, I don't expect them to like be like, oh yeah, here's this game that just released, you can play it right now. Like, no, I don't see Sony doing something like that. I see them being like,
They never will.
yeah, no,
they won't. It's
Yeah.
too late. It's too late for them in the game to do that.
yeah.
Like, and here's the thing, though. I mentioned the game Weird West. The only reason why I spent the $40 is I want to support the developer and I want to support games like that. It's a great game. I highly recommend
It is. Yeah, I can attest to that as well. It's a great game.
Yeah, and then that's kind of like where it brings in the comment about, oh, we don't want to potentially damage sales by putting games day one on there. That's where it kind of confuses me.
I think that's bullshit. I think that people that if people play that game and they like that game enough, they'll buy the game.
I think even like
I would bring up the example of and this is probably a pretty old example, but I think like one of the most pirated games was like The Witcher 2, and it sold really well. Like, people, even after pirating the game, they actually bought it. So there's proof that argument is bullshit. Like, you know, so that's not true. So I think that, and that's why Game Pass works so well, because people will play the game and they'll have the incentive to want to buy it.
Here's my question too, because I'm not really too familiar with Xbox's services. Admittedly, even though I do play a lot of different consoles, mostly like retro stuff though, but like I do play on PC and I do play on like Sony's PlayStation 5. I don't know exactly how the Xbox Game Pass works. You don't keep the games in that service, correct? Like it gets refreshed every month, or
it's like it's like a trial. They have like a certain library of games that they keep on there, but before like the end of they'll have like a deadline. It's like, okay, you can try this game from, let's say, April 1st all the way down to August 31st. It's essentially a trial, like an overglorified demo.
Yeah,
but
because these games do leave the service after a long time.
That's why I was
after a while they get removed. So, but so I guess my question here is then like, because I do see the point of like, okay, well, if games are coming on Game Pass, right? You're not paying for the full price, but if you do want to, right, like, and you enjoyed your time with the game and you want to own it before it, expires on that time period that it's on there for Game Pass, right?
Or try it out, and if you like it, you can buy it for yourself.
Right. Which is like, honestly, like that doesn't sound too bad. Granted, I think like having like legitimate demos or like time trials that aren't behind a paywall would be better, but like compared to PlayStation Plus, right, where we're currently before these changes hit in June, I think, right, we get two PS4 games and one PS5 game at the moment. Usually the games are very hit or miss depending on whether or not people actually want to play them or not. Most of them are like indie shovelware that nobody's going to care to remember or want to even touch. And I'm just kind of, I guess I'm just curious to know like how people feel
about it. Yeah.
Like how do they feel about it, knowing that like the competition is essentially getting a better deal here, more or less?
It's like, let's use this game as an example as well, Dom. It's like, you see a game like Unpacking, and you just look at it and go, why do people like this? With Game Pass, you could try it out and see why people like it. And if it's not your cup of tea, delete it, move on. And if you get any achievements in that game, you keep them. Unlike what most people like, what was it? Ubisoft with Far Cry 6. You play the game for free, and you don't keep any of the achievements.
That's weird.
Very. Like,
what?
Yeah, Far Cry 6 was free for like last month for like the 24th to the 28th. And I did get some of the achievements in there, like the trophies, and none of them popped up.
So I'm guessing like in that case, because that sounds really scummy, but in that case, they expected people to buy it during the trial so that way they could keep their shit.
Pretty much.
I feel like in terms of like competition or the whole like, quote unquote console war shit, I think it's kind of funny because if you remember last generation, like Sony kind of came out swinging, you know, like they were like Microsoft came out with their Xbox One and it was a complete disaster because it was sold as basically a cable box. And then the PS4, you know, it was a smart business decision. They were like, you know, hey, our console plays games. We can share games because I think the whole thing with that, the Xbox One was something like you can't share a copy of the game or some stupid shit.
You had to pay. I remember that. It's like you had to pay a fee.
Xbox was doing a lot of dumb shit, and so Sony I would honestly say Sony more or less kind of won that. At least in my opinion, they kind of won that generation to a certain extent. However, I feel like
they did towards the end of it.
Yeah, well, yeah, they kind of got worse, but yeah.
Hold on really quick too, because I just want to say something about that too, because you got to remember too, like the previous generation, they started out really poorly because they got cocky with the PS2 because they thought, we could do this because we've done it twice, right?
I would argue the 360 technically won that as well in a way.
In the beginning, yeah. And then like midway through, they started catching back up. Mm-hmm. And people started buying more PS3s because they started reducing the price. They started adding in more games and stuff like that. And like, you know, the PS3, like at least at the end of the generation for that, like it came out swinging. So when, you know, PS4 got announced, like, because everybody was like thinking like, what is Microsoft going to do? And as soon as they announced all that shit with the Xbox One before they removed all those features, you know, PlayStation was like, okay, yeah, by the way, you could just share your game. Here you go.
It's funny.
They memed on fucking Microsoft.
It's funny because it feels like the reverse is happening, like right now with Microsoft versus Sony. Because Microsoft is like with the backwards compatibility stuff. It's like, oh, you want to play old games? Just put the I guess with the Series X, just put the disc in or whatever. Download. I don't know exactly how it works, but I think it's
you could either insert the physical disc if you own it, because that would give you the automatic download for it, or you would have to buy it off the store for whatever price it's being sold at. So it is better to own the physical disc because then you get the digital download.
But you have that option.
Which is
you have that option with PlayStation.
That's what I was talking
about. With the PlayStation, you don't. You just
options.
have. It's just you pay for our service, and you get, and you don't even, you really, let's be honest, you get an inferior version of the product because they're talking about streaming the game like through like PS Now and all that, and it's like that's not the same as just, you know, playing the game straight up. You know, I mean,
stream the option to stream, and then also locking the downloads behind the paywall here.
Yeah.
Because like here's the thing too, like it would have been one thing if they just said, okay, here's like all these digital versions you could buy, you know, if you didn't own the physical disc. You know, fair enough, right? Give us the option for that. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It's just more so like, you know, like if you're telling me that I have to pay you $200 just to play PS2 games, and
fuck off.
like just to play these, right? When like everybody, even without PlayStation Plus, should have this ability, and that's where I feel insulted as a longtime like PlayStation fan, right? Is that like something that was free. It was free since PlayStation 2, right? And then all of a sudden got yanked from us on PlayStation 4, came back with the PlayStation 5, and is technically free with PS4 games. But, you know, these particular consoles are not free, and we have to pay for them.
Yeah. You know what? Let's go back to like Microsoft and PlayStation Plus. Let's talk about this, shall we? Let's talk about the downloadable games, because everyone says, "Oh yeah, downloadable games." Guess what? Once your membership ends, you can't play them anymore.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that is true.
And then you look at Xbox Gold. You download those games, you keep them. It does not matter if you're renewing for your subscription with Gold or not. You keep those games. They don't hide it behind this paywall. It's like, you want to play it? Like, dangle it over your head. Like, it's like, oh, you got to do better than that. You got to do better. You want it, you got to pay for it.
It's the fucking Resident Evil 4 merchant hiding.
I really think that Sony is shooting themselves in the foot with how greedy they're being with this, and I think that's what's going to turn a lot of people off from it. Is
blame Jim Ryan, blame their current CEO.
And people say that Xbox was worse. I'm like, I disagree. Xbox has come a long way since the Xbox One.
I feel like Xbox has been going through a bit of a redemption arc, honestly, with certain decisions.
With the
that
Series
they
X.
really have been, yeah.
Absolutely. Because, not only that, because back in the OG Xbox, really good. It gave us exclusives that people still talk about to this day. 360, same thing. Xbox One, oh yeah, there's still exclusives on there, but they kind of ruined them. And then you got the Series X. It's like they kind of redeemed their like IPs, like Halo Infinite. I heard it was one of the best ones in the entire series, beating out 5 and 4. And then
that's all it had to be.
And then you have Game Pass. They brought that out, and people like that more. And then
people really like Game Pass, from what I hear. So,
yeah. And then they expanded that, saying, "Oh yeah, you like Game Pass for Xbox? It's on PC too."
And that was that was a really good decision on their part, because
thank God it's on PC as well, because that means
they're taking advantage of the PC market, of the PC marketplace.
So Chaos, you PC elitists, you can enjoy this.
PC, PC elite, the glorious PC master race.
Well, you know what would be really great too, as well, for like at least the like the PC side of things, like if they added in like digital versions of those, like essentially like emulated versions of the Xbox original games.
That would be nice.
Like, because like I know Xbox emulation is currently like, it was something that was very, very recently like successful, and it's not necessarily complete per se. Like people are still trying to figure out how it works. It's a work in progress type of deal. But like imagine if like Microsoft put in the time to like be like, hey, by the way, we have our own official like Xbox emulator on PC. You guys can download it.
I think that would be if Microsoft could come out with that, that would be a big deal, especially because, like you said, the community is still like the Xbox emulation. And honestly, like I haven't really even looked into it, but I do remember the Xbox emulation. It's not like
still a work in progress.
Yeah,
even
like
though
it's still being worked on. So if the companies could actually come out and emulate their games, that would be great. Like,
just real quick, really quick, like because the thing is too is like they successfully got like I think it was like Jet Set Radio to work from the Xbox emulator, right? But like at the time, at least from when I heard the news, like they were still working on it. Like they still needed to figure out how to get like other games to work. So it's still very much a work in progress. Probably. I guess it has a lot of similarities in the sense to like how PS3 emulation took as long as it did, although PS3 emulation got way further by comparison, because like people are still trying to figure out the Xbox emulation.
Yeah,
think about how crazy it is that now we can actually play Demon's Souls in the 60 FPS and 4K on the PC. At least like the original Demon's Souls. Now the remake, we don't know if that's ever going to fucking come to PC. But
quit bragging! Quit bragging about your PC, you elitist.
Just saying.
But here's the thing with PC emulation, with Microsoft at least. That's how they were able to get the MCC on PC, because they had the guys who were working on Halo Online.
Oh yeah, that's
that
right.
Whole thing. Yeah. They had the Halo Online guys help them for the PC port, for the MCC.
Yeah, it's the way that like Microsoft handles this shit, right? With like the backwards compatibility. Only issue that I had, like I said, is that it doesn't allow you to play every single like Xbox or 360 game. They have to actually bring out an update to the software to essentially say like, hey, yeah, these games are now compatible, right? Because these games have these benefits that make them work on the hardware, right? I know for like the Xbox One, Xbox One X, and Xbox One S, they will no longer be supporting the backwards compatibility for that, at least. But for the Series X, right, like moving forward, we may or may not see more original Xbox games and 360 games. They said they weren't going to do it last time, and then they did it. So it's like, that's why I'm like, maybe, if they keep like supporting it and trying to put out like almost every single game, with the exception of maybe like a few that might have some like licensing issues here and there, right? Like at that point, it's like, what are you doing, Jim Ryan? Like Mr. Ryan, what the genuine fuck are you doing at Sony to compete with this? Like,
he's not doing a damn thing because with Microsoft, what they're doing, what they did with the Xbox One, it was an experiment. They're experimenting what can work, like backwards compatibility. That was another big thing that a lot of people said that the Xbox was doing. A lot of backwards compatibility. They were experimenting to see what can go on here and what cannot. And guess what? That experiment actually fucking worked. Now let's look at Jim Ryan's fucked up thing known as PlayStation Plus now. And all the things that he's experimenting, they're not working, Jim. They're not fucking working at all. Instead, what you did is made people look at your product and go, am I supposed to be excited for this? But then you got the Sony ponies coming out. It's like, oh, no, don't ask questions. Just consume product. Get excited and consume more product.
There's always going to be like that group of people who worships at the altar of Sony, and Sony can do no wrong. So I mean, I kind of expected that.
Sony ponies. Yeah, you're saying that Sony is the best one, but you're not getting Elder Scrolls 6
or Starfield. They're not getting Starfield.
Oh yeah, that really pissed them off.
Oh yeah, since we're on the topic of like Xbox versus PlayStation here, let's talk about the companies that they brought in. You have for Sony, you got Blue Point and Insomniac. Works because they've worked with Sony in the past. Now you got Microsoft. What did they buy? They bought Activision and Blizzard because nobody would buy them except for Microsoft, because Microsoft looked behind their money pile and they said, yeah, we could buy that.
Bethesda.
They had $80 billion worth of fuck you money.
Yeah,
they literally did.
And then you look, and then behind they had like, Bethesda, you want Mouse Buyers too? Hold on, accountant, how much money you got left? A lot? Yeah, we'll buy that too.
So here's my only concern with that, right? Is like, okay, you got all these buyouts, right? At least if they're on Microsoft, you already know they're going to end up on PC. That's a plus, right? But I guess I have the issue here with like the buyouts, right? Since we're a little bit off topic from like PlayStation Plus and the services regarding that, like I'm not a big fan of them, to be honest, just because I kind of like where every company is on their own. Granted, there are some really shitty companies that I would not mind seeing get bought out.
I think with me it really depends. Like it's like as long as they let the companies they allow the companies a certain amount of freedom to do what they want, I'm mostly okay with it. It really depends on what what this really means for like the games they're going to be putting out. I mean, how is Microsoft going to take a more like hands-off approach, or are they going to be like, oh no, you can't do this, you can't do that, etc. I don't know. I think we still need to see. I'm kind of honestly like I'm not really for or against it. I'm more neutral. I'm kind of in the wait and see sort of phase where I want to see how this is going to play out. Like what kind of games are we going to be seeing? Like what are they going to do with the games? I think, like you said, it's definitely likely, and I think they might have even said that the games are definitely going to be on both Xbox and the PC. That's pretty much a given anyway.
That's just how Xbox or Microsoft handles things. They support the PC community because
Sony on the other hand, I'm not trying to be biased here. I'm going based on their track record, right? I have a feeling Sony will be more restrictive in the sense that it's going to be exclusive or at least timed exclusive. Like these companies they bought out, they're probably going to have it in their contract somewhere. These games are either going to be exclusive for a certain amount of time or something. I don't, in terms of what they can and can't do, I don't really know, but I feel like the exclusivity thing, they're, however, I will say I'm not 100% sure with the exclusivity thing because Sony has recently been porting games to the PC, so I can't say for certain, but I would say I think it's likely they would at least have some kind of timed exclusivity or something.
You know why they've been doing that, right?
Oh, go on.
They've only been bringing some of their games to PC.
They're very, very conservative with what sort of games are coming on PC compared to Microsoft.
Yeah. They've only been doing that. No, they've been doing that to get into the China market. They want some of that China money because Chinese gamers, they only play on PC.
I had a theory when it came to like Sony games coming to PC. I feel like Jim Ryan's trying to play catch up because he saw that Microsoft is putting their games on PC. So it's like, I can make money off of this too. But guess what? He only picked certain games on there. You have Death Stranding. You have Days Gone, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and all these Sony ponies get mad about it. It's like, dude, he's trying to expand money. Like, but at the same time, he's playing catch up with Microsoft because Sony lost billions in stock. Or it could be million.
I'm surprised. I'm actually kind of surprised Nintendo hasn't tried to like chip in on the PC market and be like, hey, I mean, not that Nintendo would make any better prices or decisions here, but like, just I would like to see it just to be like, hey, you can now play all of your Nintendo games on PC officially on our.
I was about to say, I guess unofficially, you can do that too.
But. Yeah, unofficially, you can. You could sail the 7 seas. If you're into retro stuff, you can also.
Not even that. Not even that. Like you can emulate those games, like and you don't have to pirate it. You can do it totally legally, where you can just, if you have the physical copy of the game, you can do it that way. But yeah, just like,
that's how I've been doing it with the GBA with the GB operator.
Yeah, and also in terms of like the Switch games, like I was actually just PC. Today I posted in the general chat. People are emulating the SMT5 at like 4K 60 frames a second on the Switch emulator they have, and it's still an experimental emulator, but it plays perfectly fine. Same thing with like of course Breath of the Wild, which I would recommend anybody go look up the videos of Breath of the Wild emulated. It looks significantly better than, of course, in the Switch version. So it's
that's a Wii U game though.
Well, also they've done it with the Switch one too, I think. But yeah, I mean both of them
it's
look
Wii U
great
on the Switch.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's like.
Have you seen the modding community for this? It's one of those things where like in that regard, and I'm kind of glad you brought that up, Levy. It's like you would think like if it was a price increase, right, like that would have been a thing, like, okay, hey, we're increasing the tiers of we're increasing the prices of our PlayStation Plus service, but in addition to that, any game that you buy on PlayStation now will get connected to like PC if it's on PC, right? So that you don't have to buy it twice. That would have been great. If they were to like expand on like having the games essentially be accessible in both platforms, then that would be great. But of course they're not going to do it.
It would be, but in some cases, like people will look at it as like, yeah, that's a good idea in theory. But the thing is, when it comes to execution, one of two things will happen.
Fuck it up?
yeah, that's what I was going to say. One of two things will happen. One, they actually somewhat succeed with it. Sure, it's not the best, but at least they did it. And two, it will just fall flat on its face. And it's like, good job, buddy. Here, I'm going to go over to Microsoft and Nintendo now. No, I'll go to Microsoft now. And Nintendo's just sitting there with their fucking popcorn, just watching the whole thing happen. Because you also said, Dom, you were like, oh yeah, Nintendo needs to go to a different platform. They tried that. It's called mobile gaming.
Yeah, and that's only because Japan is so focused on mobile stuff.
Yeah, they're so focused on mobile stuff.
It's not just Japan. It's also like countries
casuals.
like Korea as well. Like it's
I guess Asian countries.
Unfortunately, it's a very popular market. I hate that it is. But there's really not a whole lot that I could really do about that because too many people buy into it.
It kind of makes sense because of the way the Japanese culture is. They're kind of always on the go most of the time. I think it's like
I even think like one of their games was like top 5 highest grossing mobile games. Fire Emblem Heroes.
I mean, I tried that game. That game wasn't that bad, but at the same time, I'm looking at this going, if you're trying to appease the casual gaming. Congrats, you did it. A casual company is succeeding in a casual market.
I mean, with Fire Emblem Heroes, it succeeds because it kind of hits the same market that Fate Grand Order and Genshin do, where people just want to play as their favorite characters.
Yeah, And I get that. It's like different people have different ways of porting out their not consoles, but porting out games onto different like PC and mobile, like different versions of it. But this is where I'm kind of sad about, because I remember I was hanging out with my friends and he was like, look here, look what I got. He pulls out a fucking emulator on his phone for Golden Sun. And I'm like, nice. Good game.
Yeah, so like really thinking about it, just I think like these prices, right? For example, they're fucking ridiculous. Like, I don't know why they thought like, hey, $120, and like they try to make it seem like it's a lot of stuff, but it really isn't. It's stuff that we should have been getting from day one for free, right? Like,
well, and you can't even keep the games anyway. So I mean,
right, and because it's on PlayStation Plus, you technically can't even keep the game. So that's
and you don't
where it becomes a problem.
And you don't even know what the games are. It's like a fucking party bag. It's a mystery bag. You don't know what you're getting.
Yeah, like for all we know, like what are the PS2 games? Is it going to be
what would have been? I mean, it's already a terrible idea, but at least it would have been better if there would have been like, well, hey, if you get this service, you would get this game, and that game, and then that would be like maybe a selling point for some people. It's like, oh, well, then. I mean, if that game's included, maybe I'll get it. But now that we don't, the problem is we don't know what games we're getting. So I mean, in a way, it more so hinders. Like it's also more of a hindrance as well. I mean, it's like it would have at least been less retarded if they'd come out and been like, okay, well, here are the games you're going to get, but we don't know. So
or better yet, have like a poll. It's like, if you're a certain tier, you have a right to vote of what game should be on for next month.
Yeah, I think.
But Jim Ryan won't do it because he's like, I'm just going to sit on my pile of money. Where's everybody going?
In terms of backwards compatibility, I was going to say Xbox did a thing where people would go on their forums and suggest games and see which ones were like people were the most interested in. That could have been something they could have done. I know people were asking for stuff like Ninja Gaiden and DOA before it actually got added.
Yeah, which, you would think that if they saw like popular demand, like, hey, this is the stuff that we would want to see, they would try to tap into that, right? And then Eli, I think you were trying to say something earlier as well.
I was saying that for all intents and purposes, Game Pass Ultimate has the better value.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Especially considering what you get.
At $100 a year, it is $20 cheaper.
No, Eli. No, Eli, you're dead wrong. You're dead wrong, Eli. Nintendo's expansion pack for fucking $50 is the better value.
Jesus fuck.
I mean, it is still cheaper. It is still cheaper than PS Plus.
Right now it does sound like a better value than PlayStation Plus. I'm not gonna lie.
That's not hard though. I mean,
it really isn't. At this point, PC, Nintendo, and Microsoft have better fucking value for their online service, even though PC is free. And Nintendo, they give you access to like all these retro games that you can play, and you can screen share them with friends if you want to play them. But then you got Microsoft that has Game Pass. That's like the best part of it. And what does fucking Sony have again? Oh right, you pay $120. Hey, you guys want to try a demo that you paid for?
Oh yeah, there's that thing about paid demos too. I saw something about that.
You know what? Let me continue with that article real quick.
Read it in Jim Ryan. Read it in Jim Ryan.
Today we are pleased to share with you, or today on March 29th.
Isn't he Irish, by the way? I thought it was Irish.
Today on March 22nd, we are pleased to share with you official news about changes to our subscription services. This June, we're bringing together PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now in an all-new PlayStation Plus subscription service that provides more choice to the customers across 3 membership tiers globally. And I almost sound Indian. God damn it!
No, you went from Irish. You went from Irish to Belgium.
He went from like Irish to German to Indian. Like, I don't know.
You know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna continue this. Oh my goodness gracious! Our focus is on providing high-quality, curated content with diverse portfolio of games. Below is an overview, and we already know about the overview. I'm just going to skip all this because it's all fucking bullshit.
Oh, thanks for that, Apu.
We're gonna transition to Tommy Wiseau next.
A quickie mart. I do.
God damn it! Yeah. We're gonna transition to Tommy Wiseau next.
Hi Dom. Hi Dom. No extra and premium tiers represent a major evolution for PlayStation Plus. With these tiers, our key focus is to ensure that the hundreds of games we offer will include the best quality content that sets us apart. Take it from me, Tommy Wiseau. At launch, we plan to include titles such as Death Stranding, God of War, and Spider-Man Miles Morales, and Mortal Kombat 11, and Returnal.
Okay, he's gonna play something off of that fucking sound cue thing.
Yeah, he really did.
That kind of made me jump.
Good, wake the fuck up. Anyways.
Oh,
No, it's
geez,
like I see all. It's like Jim Ryan. How's your sex life? It's very. Oh my goodness, it's very poor.
I'll be honest. After you said that, I thought you were gonna play the gunshot sound effect.
So, Mr. Ryan, how's your sex life? Well, I could tell you, but.
Bam.
Okay, so here's the thing with Death Stranding. If you already own it on PS4, it's a $10 upgrade for the fucking director's cut.
For the director's cut, right?
It is on PC
on PS5.
too.
Yeah, PC. Yeah,
It's like $10.
a better market for it if you don't mind me saying, but still.
Yeah.
Just recently, but yes.
I've
But
kind of gotten burnt out on playing post-apocalyptic post-man delivery service. So, you know.
I can be burnt out on one game.
Like, I'm seeing all this, and he's saying that the best quality content that sets us apart. I'm sorry, Jim. You're making people go to Xbox.
I'm not gonna lie. Actually, if it wasn't for the fact that I am prepping for a move in the next coming months, I would actually consider an Xbox. Just because, like, I would like to play some of those original Xbox games that I do have.
That's
that are
honestly
compatible.
kind of been this part of the reason why I at times have considered getting like a Series X, because I also actually have some they're buried somewhere, but I do have some original Xbox games. I would,
I don't have the room for the mini fridge. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hey! The mini fridge has Game Pass. Leave it alone.
The funny thing is, I did pick up some of the original ones before they jumped up, like Panzer Dragoon, which also includes like the original. I think it has the original Sega Saturn game as an unlockable.
You know what? I just now realized something. You know what Microsoft has that fucking Sony doesn't? More access to their console more than Sony. Because whenever I got my income tax, I had money. They had no PS5s. As soon as I ran out of money, Sony sends me a goddamn email saying, "Oh, hey, Levy. Nice to see you. We have PlayStation 5s now." And I'm like, "Fuck you."
So is there still a shortage of consoles? Like,
Yes, there
is.
To be fair, though, there's still a shortage of GPUs as well.
Well, that's
people
true.
buy-
Okay, Dom, as someone who's been keeping track of GPU, okay, that's true. But the prices have been coming down significantly. So they are becoming more available, but
which is good that they are. Just that like the shortages are there.
It's kind of across the board with a lot of things.
Yeah, it's not necessarily exclusively to Sony. It's just that because Sony's PS5 is selling the most at the moment, right, compared to like the Xbox, and some of these GPUs with like people hoarding them for fucking crypto mining, which fuck those people. But yeah, like that's the only reason why there's a shortage to begin with, at least for the consoles, not so much the chip short, or was it the chip or the semiconductor?
I think it's a semiconductor shortage apparently.
Yeah,
although I'm not sure how much I believe that, honestly. I think it's a lot of different factors. Like the mining is part of it as well, the crypto mining.
Fucking crypto.
Yeah, so so yeah, I mean, like there is a shortage across the board, but given that if you were looking to buy an Xbox and Xbox's Game Pass is interesting you right now,
or anything having to do with backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
If you get Game Pass, you can play Starfield for free.
Actually, speaking of which, I don't. We should talk about this too, because I actually I think it was Kaneki that showed me this, but apparently like there is a way to actually get like stuff like DuckStation and some PS2 emulators to actually run on a Series X. Apparently, like
yes,
by
that is true.
It has RetroArch.
Yeah.
Yeah, with dev mode.
Yeah, and I was like, that's pretty
Well,
cool. Like I don't know if anybody
actually,
can
you get it
confirm whether or
working on
not,
retail.
but I did say this in the video. I don't know. Can you do that on the PS5, or is that just on the Series X that you can do that?
Only on Series X, because right now the system hasn't been cracked to that point. But I think that's also the thing, is that the Xbox systems haven't been cracked because they kind of removed the incentive to, because most people just want to run emulators or pirate games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So give them an open sandbox, and people won't want to crack the system.
You are a pirate.
Yeah, it's I know there was also an issue too, like just because we were talking with Singh the other day, and he was mentioning too that I think the PS5 actually doesn't have the laser to run like the old like PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games, which is part of the reason why they would have to be a download on PS5. But you would think, at least with like, and you know, I know I probably sound like a broken record with this, but you would think that like PS3 stuff, right? You could play that physically and not have to have PlayStation Plus to run those games, or even you know just download any of your digital content from the PlayStation 3 store.
Yeah, I mean you'd think so.
Yeah, but then the problem is that I'm guessing they just haven't. They either didn't try or haven't figured out how to get it working natively on PS5,
or they didn't want to try, and they just wanted to
that too.
to do this shit, which they just did with the PlayStation Plus service.
Greed.
Yeah, I think a lot of it can honestly be boiled down to that, and I think that's what's turning a lot of people, myself included, off from Sony.
Yeah. So you could say that the whole thing that's happening with PlayStation Plus makes you have
emotional damage.
So I'm gonna run this last question for you guys before we like wrap things up, because I think we pretty much covered a lot of this stuff. If you were the one that was going to make the new changes to PlayStation Plus and just PlayStation in general, what would you do, and why do you think that would be beneficial in your eyes?
Wow, that's a hard question.
I would get rid of the essential tier and just focus on extra and premium.
As a starting point, let's just not do half the stuff they're doing with the with the new PlayStation Plus. That's a good way.
Get rid of essential. You don't need that.
I think these different tiers are kind of pointless. Bullshit. Honestly, like I would either have. At the most, I'd have two tiers. Like, I mean, maybe basic tier, and then you have, I don't know, more, quote unquote premium tier that has more benefits.
Premium.
Premium.
Since I seen this, I want to like get rid of the names so it doesn't look like an OnlyFans account. Because that's what it looks like. You have essentials. Extra
silence. I do not wish to be horny anymore.
And then you have after hours.
Silence wench.
I just want to be happy.
Honestly, be happy.
Honestly, if they want the price to be more worth it, I would say just add in extra stuff. Like, I remember someone on Twitter said they add in like a Crunchyroll sub with it. Like, I think that would at least make it at least a better value.
Or an HBO Max thing.
I can see that, yeah, because like because Sony owns Crunchyroll and in turn also Funimation, because they merged recently.
Yeah.
So so at least in that regard, like, okay, yeah, if you wanted to get some anime in there, right? Like, why not, right? Like, this is a console that's from Japan. Why are you not pushing more Japanese related products? Like,
that is a good question, actually.
We could watch the returning arc of Bleach through PlayStation. Fuck that.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Like, that's the thing, though. I do agree. Like, add in something that it makes it worth fucking while. You have
give more incentive, basically.
But like the sad thing about that though is that most PlayStation, like Sony ponies, they don't give a shit about anime.
Damn.
Which I don't really give a shit. It just like there needs to be more incentive. So like I think one of you said like HBO Max as well. So
I
you're
know,
not
yeah.
paying for TV already.
I think we have suggested this already, but when they just said like yeah, you're gonna get this amount of games, I would at least like give a link or give like I don't know, like some kind of gallery, have something up that will show what games you would actually be getting.
Don't just make it random,
because otherwise nobody knows, and we would be less inclined to actually pay for it because we don't know what games we're even getting. Like, yeah, okay, that's a lot of games, sure, but like, what are they? Like, why am I paying for this service? Also, I mentioned this in my video. I really feel like they need a bitch today. They need to ditch PlayStation Now. I think it's a failed service, and I think they need to stop trying to make it work. It's not working. Nobody likes it. Get rid of it. Just, I don't know, have the PS3 games be downloadable or something. Like, I'd rather like anything but streaming them. Like, nobody wants to stream
what's funny
them.
is that I was saying that too for the longest time. Like, PlayStation Now wouldn't be so bad if they gave you the option to at least download the games that you're supposed to be streaming.
Streaming games just
to be
isn't
fair,
gonna
some
work.
games you can.
Right.
So,
some games you
pretty
can.
much-
I was gonna say, like, instead of having it be a streaming service, make it a rental service.
Yeah.
Something like
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, there's no video rental stores anymore. Take advantage of that. Like, people would love that. And then
Yeah,
you could
so-
incentivize them to try to buy the full game then at that point.
So pretty much like xCloud then, where it's included in Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah, if that's how that works. Like I said, I'm not.
Yeah, it is, and you can play it on your phone or a PC or any other device that has the Xbox app.
See, like, do shit like that. Like, so me personally, how I would change it is that, well, for starters, all the downloadable PlayStation 1, 2, and portable games, those would just be there for everybody to buy. You would not need PlayStation Plus. That's the one thing. I would not have all these fucking tiers either, because I just think that they're really stupid and unnecessary. I would just keep the prices the same for PlayStation Plus. I could understand wanting to combine PlayStation Now with PlayStation Plus, so at least in that regard, so that way you're not necessarily paying, two separate subscriptions if you were paying two separate subscriptions before. This upcoming change is supposed to happen, right? The other thing too, PlayStation 3 games, because it's running on a Blu-ray, I would think like you should be allowed to fucking play those games right off the disc, or if you have any digital games off of the PlayStation Store, right, just be able to download your PlayStation 3 games and any PlayStation 1 games or PlayStation 2 games you might have bought, both on PS3 and PS4. So that's what I would have done.
And also, what you said with PS Now, just make it a rental service where you can just like rent old games if you don't have them, or you just want to play them.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
And also one other thing too, because I know we almost completely forgot to bring this up as well. PlayStation Vita games.
Oh yeah,
they're not on there. They're not on there at all.
The Vita
Yeah,
has
it's
been
like-
forgotten.
It's
What's
been
a Vita?
forgotten. Didn't Jim Ryan say that it was a legacy platform?
oh yeah.
If he did, I don't know. I don't know if
Let
he
me.
did.
I'm gonna look this up real quick. Hold on.
Wait, guys,
Yeah.
what's a Vita? You guys are confusing me.
Yeah,
You know what you get? Shut up.
Oh,
it's kind of sad that
Oh,
like they remember like PSP, but nothing about Vita. I don't know if it's because of the hardware,
Oh,
but even then,
wasn't.
it's still very strange.
Okay, I was wrong.
It just never really took off.
if it wasn't for the Vita, I wouldn't be into Danganronpa Persona.
Okay, I was wrong about Jim Ryan. It was Andrew House that said this. He was the chief executive officer. This was back in 2015. He called it a legacy platform in regards he gave to the investors earlier. They clarified that he was speaking out to the older Vita models he uses as a legacy, but yet they stopped making exclusives for it, and every company came out.
With the Vita, and this is before Andrew House left, but like with the Vita, that was, that's a handheld that they ended up having a consoleized version for it. It wasn't compatible with every game unless if you hack it. So like you would think that it would be compatible because you have a touchpad on the DualSense. And not only that, but it would just be way more convenient to play handheld games on your console. At least I would think. I mean, I like having a handheld too, but it's
also, I would like to play Onimusha on my TV screen. Oh, not Onimusha, Muramasa.
A Muramasa Rebirth. Yeah, I know people really love that game. I don't know if you can get that digitally, actually.
Well, you can.
You can, but it's the complete edition that has all 4 of the DLCs.
I'm surprised they never ported it to consoles.
Yeah, originally it was on the Wii, and then they put it to the Vita, and it played really well on the Vita. But because they did it to Dragon's Crown, but that was a PS3 game. They ported that over to PS4.
Well, it was PS3 and Vita originally.
I remember playing Muramasa on the Vita. That was probably like one of my favorite games on Vita.
Back when you weren't a PC elite.
Stop.
Well, hey, as a PC elitist, I could probably find ways to play. There's probably a way to emulate that game on the fucking PC too. I'm probably fine.
Probably.
Well, you'd probably have to do the Wii version since Vita emulation isn't a thing right now.
So tough dreams, bitch.
We can dream. We can dream, right?
maybe like someday they'll finally port it.
They'll find a way. They'll find a way.
If not that, we'll play Dreams on PC when they port it there.
So yeah, somebody will remake it on Dreams like they did with Dead Space. So.
Oh, that was great. I need to actually play that game again.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we pretty much covered everything. So I'm gonna let everybody do their outros. I think James is not available because he unfortunately had some guests show up midway through, so he isn't here. I don't know. But you can find him at DevHunterJames on Twitter, and then I think also on YouTube. And then after that, go ahead and outro yourself, Chaos.
Sure, you can find me on YouTube at Captain Chaos. You can find me on Twitter by the same name. You can also follow my Instagram where I post my art stuff, which is Enigmatic Arts. Yeah.
Alrighty, and then after that we got Eviga, the Amish man.
I love how he's like, yeah, that's it. I'm trying to get back into making videos for YouTube now, and yes, I had to rebrand every fucking thing. Thanks, Dom.
Hi, Beacon.
But it's YouTube, Twitter. It's Eviga. It's formerly known as Lev the Amishman. And funnily enough, whenever I was in someone's stream, they call me Eviga the Amishman. I'm like, shit, he knows who I am. But I'm hoping I'm going to try to do Twitch streaming because, things that happened with me recently. But you know what? I am free. I am unchained. Yeah, that's about it.
All right. After that, we got Dirty Dan.
You can find me on Twitter at the Dirty Dan _ or triple _ I mean. That's about it. Where you can find me.
Alrighty. After that, we got Eli.
You can find me on Twitter at Gamma Alias.
Alrighty, and then last but not least, Drillbit.
Yeah, you can just find me on Twitter at Drillbit777. That's like where I'm only really active on.
Gotcha. And then you guys can find me on YouTube, Twitter, never really on Twitch, but everything is under BioDevil_Dom. Like I said, this is going to be the first of a return for the BioDevils podcast. I will be hopefully doing some more of these in the future before my move. I do want to get some of my my videos done, obviously, because I have some that I started recording and I haven't finished recording them, and yeah, it's a mess, and I do want to get those videos out, but unfortunately, with me being so busy with work and whatnot, and trying to catch up on everything before the move, I might have to delay some content. But I'm hoping to at least get the RE7 review out before the move, hopefully. But with that all said, thank you all for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed our ramblings on PlayStation Plus and other related subjects regarding alternatives on other platforms. We will see you next time, hopefully. So yeah, goodbye.
Goodbye.